Hello. I do believe we are live, you guys. Hello, hello. Come on in. Happy Friday. We are live. And I do believe I have fixed all my audio problems. Hopefully it all sounds good. How are you guys doing today? Happy Friday. Come on in. Welcome to part 3 of the case of the Long Island serial killer. Everything in this video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Before I forget, thank you for joining. Come on in, start a chat. Here is a recap of the Long Island serial killer case from part 1 and part 2, the videos that we've done yesterday and the day before. Check those out. They're less than 30 minutes. Do you guys have any plans for this weekend? Let me know what you guys are doing this weekend. Have you heard of the Long Island serial killer case? This is a fairly new case out of Long Island, Gilgo Beach area in New York State. And this is part 3. So welcome to part 3. Hope you guys are having a great day. Let you guys come in. All right. So here's a recap of part 1 and part 2. This is the Long Island serial killer case. The accused serial killer, Rex Heuermann, is waiting for trial and is awaiting in jail. And here's a recap of part 1 and part 2. We went over who Rex Heuermann was and the 911 call from Shannon Gilbert that led up to the arrest of Rex Heuermann. And so, on the night of May 1st, 2020, Shannon Gilbert made a 911 call claiming people were after her and they were trying to kill her. In December of 2011, 19 months later, her skeletal remains were found in a marsh near where she disappeared. Although her death was ruled most likely an accidental drowning or from exposure to the elements, the official cause is undetermined. Her family disputes this due to Shannon's hyoid bone being damaged, which is consistent with homicidal strangulation. Shannon's case remains unsolved. Shannon's 911 call set in motion a search that led to the findings of 11 bodies in the Long Island Gilgo Beach area. DNA from the hair found on one of the victims was tested with DNA from a pizza crust Rex Heuermann threw away in the trash outside his Manhattan office, leading to his arrest, initially charging him with 3 counts of first-degree murder plus multiple counts of second-degree murder. And this was on July 13th, 2023. So Rex Heuermann threw out a pizza box with pizza crust in it in a trash can outside his Manhattan office. They collected that, tested the DNA from the pizza crust and compared it to the DNA they got from a hair found on one of the victims, and it connected Rex Heuermann to one of the victims. Then he was arrested on July 13th, 2023. not too long ago. That was just 2 years ago, year and a half ago. So his trial should be coming up next year. Now this brings us to part 3. Part 3. We are going to talk about the victims that were found, the bodies found along the Gilgo Beach Long Island area. Okay, after Shannon Gilbert's 911 call on May 1st, 2010, and her disappearance, a search began and several bodies were found in the Gilgo Beach, Long Island area. In December of 2010, 4 bodies were found near Gilgo Beach, and these are what they call the Gilgo 4. Today I'm drinking Monster Energy Ultra Fantasy Ruby Red. It's pretty good. All right, the Gilgo 4. These 4 were young ladies, all in their 20s, and they are 22-year-old Megan Waterman. She was last seen on June 6th, 2007. 25-year-old Maureen Brainerd Barnes. She was last seen July 9th, 2007. I don't know why I can't say 2007. That is only a month apart from each other. So Megan Waterman disappeared in June. Maureen Brainerd Barnes disappeared in July, both in 2007. And then they were both found 3.5 years later in December of 2010. And then we have 24-year-old Melissa Barthélemy. She was last seen on July 12th, 2009. This is going to be 2 years after Maureen Brainerd Barnes went missing. So there's a 2-year gap. So, did he take a break? Was he somewhere else? There is evidence of allegedly him being in other states where other women have gone missing. We'll get into that into another video. It's a big case. Lots of rabbit holes we can go down. Lots of different turns. Yeah, this is insane. Crazy case. I wanted to get caught up on it before the trial comes next year. Hopefully it will be next year. There is no set date yet, so we will see on that. Okay, so we have 22-year-old Megan Waterman, 25-year-old Maureen Brainerd Barnes, 24-year-old Melissa Barthélemy, and 27-year-old Amberlynn Costello. She was last seen around September of 2010. And those are what they call the Gilgo 4, if you hear that. Rex Heuermann was allegedly active between 1993 and 2011, based on the dates of the 7 murders with which he has been charged. Okay, let's talk about Sandra Castilla. She disappeared on November 19th in 1993 in Manhattan, and her remains were found the next day on November 20th, about 60 miles from Gilgo Beach. For years, her murder was left unsolved, and a different individual was the primary suspect, John Bitroff, who was convicted of the murder of 2 other women in the area. There was actually 2 more serial killers active in the 1993 year at that time. So 4 people active in 1993 in the same area in New York for serial killers. So we can get into that on another video. But John Petrov was the main suspect in Sandra Castilla's murder. And then in June 2024, Rex Heuermann, who had already been arrested in connection with the Gilgo Four, was now charged with the murders of Sandra Castilla and 20-year-old Jessica Taylor. We're going to talk about Jessica in just a moment. DNA from a male human hair found on Castilla's body that matched Heuermann linked him to the crime. So there was a hair on Sandra Castilla's body, comes up to be a match to Rex Heuermann. Sandra is allegedly Rex Heuermann's first victim. So this is in 1993. And then the Gilgo Four were found December 2010. Rex Heuermann was arrested July 13th, 2023. And that's a brief timeline so far. That's 30 years, you guys, from the time he supposedly started until he was arrested. 30 years. Were you guys even born in 1993? I graduated high school in 1994. So let me know. My daughter wasn't even born until she wasn't even born in 1993. That was a while ago, I suppose. I love the 90s though. If you lived in the 90s, you know how awesome it was. Okay. So supposedly Sandra was his first victim in 1993. This would have made Rex 30 years old when he started. So I looked it up. The average age for a serial killer to start his evil doings is 27 and a half years old, according to criminology studies. So I guess that pans out. I thought it would, I thought that sounded a little old. You'd think men would grow up by the time they were. I say men because most serial killers are men, and I do not know the average age of a woman serial killer. I'll have to look that up. Is this for every serial killer? Anyone know how old Elaine Warnos was? I think she was probably older than 30. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe not. Oh, look that up. All right, so the average age of serial killers to start their evil doings is 27.5 years old. All right, we have Karen Vergata, and we're going to talk about Jessica Taylor here in just a moment. Okay, so, and then we have Karen Vergata. She disappeared in 1996. Her partial remains were found in 1996, and more of her remains were found in 2011, 15 years later. And so her partial remains in 2011 were found after the Gilgo Four. So the Gilgo Four were the first four that were found after the 911 call Shannan Gilbert made. All right, and then we have Valerie Mack, who disappeared in the spring or summer of 2011. Her partial remains were found in November of 2011, and additional remains were found in 2011. Did I say 2000? Her partial remains were found in November of 2000, Additional remains were found in 2011. She remained a Jane Doe until 2020. So for 20 years, she was a Jane Doe. Okay, now we have Jessica Taylor, who disappeared in July of 2003. Her torso was found in July of 2003, and additional remains were found, including her skull, hands, and forearm, in 2011, 8 years later, during the search for Shannan Gilbert. So we have the Gilgo 4, and he is charged with 7. However, 11 bodies were found. Come on in, you guys, start a chat. So 11 bodies were found. He's been charged with 7. One of them, one person he has not been charged with is Shannan Gilbert, who disappeared on May 1st, 2010, and was found in December of 2011, which was 19 months after her 911 call. And then Karen Vergata, Rex Heuermann has not been charged with her murder. She disappeared on February 14th, 1996. Her legs were found in a plastic bag in April of 1996, and her skull was near Gilgo Beach in April 2011. She was finally identified in 2023. So these poor girls went for a long time without even being identified. Okay, and then we have Peaches and her toddler. In 1997, a dismembered torso was found in a container. Her other remains, along with the remains of her toddler, were discovered separately in 2011 near Gilgo Beach during the big search. So all of this was found after Shannan's 911 call. So if she hadn't made that 911 call, who knows how long all of this would have been continuing going on. And um, it just looks like nothing was really being done about trying to find any of these people until that 911 call set off the big search, and they started finding all of these bodies. Peaches and her toddler were identified in 2024. So again, just decades. It was publicly announced this year, April of 2025. So I'm not sure why they kept their identities secret for so long, but they finally released their identities as Tanya Denise Jackson and the baby Tatiana Marie Dykes. And their cases remain unsolved as well. And then we have the unidentified Asian male. His remains were found in April of 2011 near the other victims. Investigators believe his body was out there for at least 5 years and may have died during or prior to 2006. He was wearing women's clothes, so he may have been identifying as a female. So they think he was out there for several years. All right, well, those are the 11 that were found. Rex is charged with first-degree murder and second-degree murder with 7 of these victims. The judge has ruled that all 7 victims or cases or bodies will be included into one big trial instead of breaking it up into seven. And of course, they are still doing investigations, and we'll see where it goes from there. So, and then recently, the remains of a young 15-year-old girl were identified as Susan Mann. She had disappeared in May of 1980 after leaving her home on her bicycle. However, on November 4th of 1982, a body was found in a dumpster in Freeport, Long Island, and was logged as a Jane Doe. Law enforcement believe the body may have been buried and then later moved to the dumpster where it was found because she was missing for 2.5 years at that point, and then she was found in the dumpster. The remains remained unidentified for roughly 42 years. She was finally named in October of this year, 2025. Her case is still unsolved. Her name was Susan Mann, 15 years old. And now get this, Freeport is less than 6 miles from the Huerman home. And at that time, Rex Huerman would have been around 18 years old. So, do you think he could have started a lot earlier than assumed? Let me know down in the comments. All right, this case is one of the biggest ones I've seen in my lifetime, I think. As far as serial killers go, I've never seen a trial on a serial killer, I don't believe. I've watched back on like Jeffrey Dahmer and stuff like that, but nothing live. So, and there's a lot more to get to. What do you think about this Susan Mann, this 15-year-old that was found in a dumpster in Freeport, which is less than 6 miles from where Rex Huerman lived? And he would have been at 18, around 18 at the time. So, I don't know. Case is still unsolved, so we'll see if anything comes out that links him to this this little girl. Of course, we don't know how she died. Nothing else has come out about it, so we will follow that. This is the case of the Long Island serial killer. Is it Rex Huerman? There were 3 other serial killers active at the time in that same area. He has pled not guilty. So what do you guys think? Okay, well, next time in part 4, we will be looking at how the bodies were found and the evidence linking Rex to the crimes. And until then, you are all awesome and you make my day better. So, have a great day, and I will see you in part 4. See ya.